Why do I have to have my fire system inspected?
There are two main reasons to have your fire system inspected. First and foremost is to give maximum assurance that the system will actually function according to the way that the manufacturer designed it. The second reason is to remain in compliance with the fire marshals and also your insurance company.
How often do I have to have it inspected?
Your fire system shall be inspected every 6 months.
What are my real risks if I do not have a compliant system?
If your system is not compliant and you have a fire in your establishment and the system doesn't work, you have a very big problem. You've invested thousands of dollars, money, time, what have you. So it's critical that your systems be compliant, be maintained, so that your insurance will cover you, so that the fire marshal doesn't come in one day and tell you to stop cooking. Both of those I have seen personally, and it's not a good situation to get yourself in for the small investment of having the system inspected every 6 months.
What do I do if my system is red tagged?
If your system has been red tagged, you have a problem. It is required that the fire suppression company that did your inspection, they're required to submit their report to the local authority having jurisdiction. Therefore, after this red tag has been placed on your system, the fire marshal can come in basically at any time, and it is at his discretion as to whether or not he's going to allow you to continue cooking, or if he deems it serious enough, he can actually shut you down and stop your business from making any money. So if you have a red tag on your system, give us a call. We'll take a look at what the problems are and we'll come up with some solutions.
What do I do with the reports that I get?
Every time that we do a fire suppression inspection, we create a report. These reports have to be kept on your premises for a period of 3 years. We also keep a copy of it, so if you use us and you need these reports sent to you, we can email them over to you. All of our reports have pictures and so forth of our process of our inspection. It's also referenced in the Virginia Statewide Fire Prevention Code 901.6.2 that we shall report all of our findings during the course of our inspections to the local authority having jurisdiction, so that they can ensure that your business is safe and your property is safe. So you want to keep a record of those inspections for 3 years.
The fire department came and did their annual inspection and said everything is fine. Why are you telling me it is not fine?
Fire marshals rely on third-party inspectors, fire suppression companies, for the accuracy of the inspection of the system. Therefore, if something is wrong, as an example with the piping or the nozzle coverage, the fire departments or fire marshals do not have the training to typically identify those types of issues. If you should have a problem with the system, then you are, as the restaurant owner, are ultimately responsible for that loss.
Why does the city have to test it?
Cities test fire systems to ensure that it was installed properly and per the manufacturer's guidelines and also NFPA guidelines and standards. This ensures that the system will function if needed and protects your liability.
My system was inspected by the AHJ when it was installed. How can it not be compliant now?
Periodically, NFPA standards are updated. Periodically, manufacturers' specifications change. If your system was approved when it was installed, it may not meet those requirements. Our goal is to protect your liability in this instance.
Another fire suppression company said it was fine. Explain to me how your company is telling me I have problems.
Our company strives for accuracy with the inspections that we perform. Liability is a main focus of our company. We want to protect your liability and ours. Therefore, if we do find a problem that someone else may or may not have identified, we will point these deficiencies out to you and show you in black and white writing where it states that it is a problem.
Why do you have to have a hydrostatic test on a cylinder?
Hydrostatic tests are essentially pressure tests, typically done every 12 years to ensure the integrity of your cylinder that houses the chemical for your fire suppression system. If you do not have these tests performed per the manufacturer and per NFPA standards, your system may not function properly in the event of a fire.
My system has never been activated. How can it be out of compliance?
One of the main causes for a system to be out of compliance revolves around changes that have been made to the lineup of the cooking appliances. Anytime changes are made, the system would need to be altered to provide the proper protection and coverage. And a lot of times parts are not available to accommodate these types of changes.
Can't you just move one of those nozzles?
Nozzle protection is critical for fire protection. Each one of your appliances has a specific nozzle coverage for it. Therefore, if you were to move your appliance to the left or right underneath your hood, the nozzle would have to be moved along with it in order to provide the proper coverage and protection. Any changes made to a fire system requires obtaining a permit, mechanical permit. Once the alterations are made from the original design and setup, all aspects and other components must meet current NFPA and manufacturer standards.
Why can't you use the same nozzles?
A standard system nozzle is appliance specific. If a fryer, as an example, is 15 inches wide by 24 inches deep and has 40 pounds of vegetable oil in it versus a 24-inch flat griddle with just a surface of whatever's being cooked on it. So in that particular case, the fryer would need a lot more chemicals in order to put the fire out. So again, each nozzle is a little bit different in terms of the amount of flow of chemical. The spray pattern may be straight or fan shape pattern. So all these things are different, and the manufacturer designs and tests each nozzle for each appliance that's being used.
How did grease get in my automatic detection line?
When you're cooking, it produces grease vapors. These vapors can attach themselves to that line, locking it up over a period of time. It's not an uncommon thing. We check to ensure that your cable is moving freely so that your system will set off automatically if needed.
Why do I need to keep the filters in place?
Hood grease filters are one of the most critical components of your fire system and your hood system. The grease filters catch about 85% of the grease vapors that are being produced during the time that you're cooking with your appliances. If the filters are not in place, the grease vapors go straight up through the duct, straight onto the detection line behind the filters, and can cause your system to need more frequent cleanings. The filters also act as a first line of defense against fire, meaning that the flames won't go straight up into the duct. So it's very critical that they be in place at all times, also per the NFPA code.
What is UL 300?
UL stands for Underwriters Laboratory. 300 is the test number that was used for this specific test. It was brought about due to changes within the cooking industry. Newer appliances burn more efficiently. They changed the oil that was being used from lard to more like peanut oil or vegetable oil because it burns at hotter temperatures. The old systems used to use powder, and they worked fine at that particular time, but now with the newer appliances burning more efficiently, burning hotter, the change had to be made from dry systems to wet systems. with those changes, demanded more rigorous testing methods, and that was why UL 300 was established in 1994.
How do you know all of my pipes are clogged?
During a standard fire suppression inspection, it is customary to remove the nozzles over the appliances. When the nozzles are removed, we make sure that the chemicals will flow properly through the nozzles. We also check the integrity of the piping. If we find rust or corrosion on the insides of the pipes, we know that the pipes are clogged, and therefore the chemical would not flow properly in the event of a fire.
Why do I need to change my fire system if I want to move my appliances around?
Each one of your nozzles is specific. Fryers have certain nozzles, griddles have certain nozzles, and so on. So when appliances are shifted, it changes the coverage of the fire protection system.
How long will a new system last?
Most systems require a heavy maintenance after 12 years. System cylinders have to be hydroed, chemicals have to be changed out. As long as there are no changes from the manufacturer, a system could last forever.
How did my pipes get clogged or rusted when my system has never been used?
I don't know exactly. I can hypothesize of why, and I can tell you that this is not an uncommon thing to find. Some years ago, the majority of localities used to do what's called a wet acceptance test, where the cylinders were filled with water and were fired off with hoses attached to the end of the nozzles. What would happen is they would basically simulate the system actually having to work in that fashion. If the pipes were not dried out properly after that acceptance test was performed, then whatever moisture was left inside that black iron pipe could have rusted up.
We don't really use that appliance. Does it have to have fire system coverage?
If you have an appliance under your hood and it is grease producing, it needs coverage. Whether or not you use the appliance, don't use the appliance. In the unfortunate event that, let's take this as an example, that if you as the manager or the owner are not there and your employee decides that, hey, I need this appliance for this particular day, and something happens, then ultimately it's your responsibility and your liability. So if that appliance is there, it does need coverage, and the fire marshal will also want to see that coverage for that particular appliance.
It was just a little fire. Why do I have to have the whole system reset?
If you had a fire in your commercial kitchen, you should immediately have your fire system checked, whether the system discharged or didn't discharge. In the event of a fire, it is critical that these systems be working properly and make sure that they're functioning properly. If the system deployed, then we would have to flush out the piping. We would have to recharge the chemicals, and all the components would have to be checked and replaced as needed to ensure that the next time the system would work properly.
Are there systems that do not require appliance-specific coverage?
Yes, there are systems designed that are not specific to the appliance being covered or protected. We are a distributor for Amerex, and they make a system, it's called a zone defense system. The way it's set up is there are nozzles placed at 6 inches from either side of the hood, and they're spaced out 20 inches apart, so that it's designed as a zone protection, so that you can move your fryers around, or your flat griddles around, or stoves around, however you want to orientate it. As long as you meet all the other requirements, the protection does not change. So once it's piped one time and you decide to move something, it will not require it to be repiped, which will save you a lot of money in the long run and a lot of heartache in the long run.
Which system should I choose?
So choosing the right system, whether it be for appliance specific protection or zone defense, you have to think about money. How much more money are you going to be spending on the front end versus how much money are you going to spend on the back end? As an example, if your hood is, say, 8 feet wide and you have 4 appliances with a appliance specific system, you may only require a 3-gallon tank and 6 nozzles, whereas a zone defense system, you may require a 6-gallon system with, say, 10 nozzles. So it is going to cost a little bit more on the front end. However, if you make that one change, or you think you're going to make a change over the period of 12 years, it would be well worth it to have that zone defense system. It just gives you that little bit of flexibility. If you're just getting started and you don't want to spend any money that you don't have to, then go with the appliance specific. Or if you think you may want to switch to the zone defense later, we can accommodate you with that as well. So,
How much is my system going to cost?
the cost of a new system is determined by many factors, specifically the size of the system that's going to be required. Typically for the smaller the hood and the lesser amount of appliances is going to dictate a smaller system, whereas a larger hood and more appliances is going to need a larger system. So that's generally what determines the price. There are other factors with newer systems, things such as all of these things have to be tied in by an electrician. Things like the automatic gas shutoff valve has to be tied in by a gas plumber. So there's actually 3 trades at work there. And if you have a fire alarm in your building, you would actually also need an alarm company to run a line to that new system as well.
Do I have to show my employees how to use the system?
Yes, you do. It is your establishment, your business, your liability. It is stated in the NFPA standards that it is ultimately the owner's responsibility. If you need more information of how these systems work, please, I ask you to give us a call. You can also go to the manufacturer's websites for further information. You should keep copies of records. You should orientate your employees and keep documentation of that. Always know where your pull station is. Make sure it's not obstructed. Make sure your Class K fire extinguisher is fully charged, and document that. And you need to have this training ongoing and keep a record of it at all times.
Why should you choose Priority Fire Protection?
Priority Fire Protection is a family-owned business, small business located here in Gloucester, Virginia. I personally have 30 years experience working with commercial kitchens. I've done everything from cleaning hoods to installing systems to inspections, pretty much done it all. We've gone through extensive factory training. We've conducted classes for the local fire marshals. We're very well known in our area. We have a great reputation for customer service. We treat our customers like family. So if you have an issue, we try to work with you best we can. We will not compromise our integrity or your safety. Thank you very much for watching the video that we produced. Hopefully it was helpful for you, shed some light and give you some transparency on how these systems are maintained. If you'd like to set up an appointment or you have any questions, you can give us a call, 757-525-3473. Be happy to talk to anybody, and hopefully we can help you out. Thanks so much.